Hey there, and welcome to Conversations Worth Your While. It's the podcast where we dig into ideas and insights that will help you to unleash what you were born to bring. I get to chat with heart-led experts and ask the questions that I know you're already thinking about, and we explore conversations that spark growth and shift perspectives and help you to show up fully at work and your relationships and in all aspects of life. And today, we've got this really cool topic, and it is stop asking your job to complete you. And this conversation is worth your while because statistics show that only 27% of managers are feeling as if they are thriving, and that they're engaged. And only a third of employees report that they are thriving. So these numbers are actually getting worse. So if you spend a big part of your life at work, and you probably do, it really makes sense to ask why. So today we're going to share how to create meaning at work and how your job can be an expression of purpose without making it be responsible for your fulfillment or your identity. And if the way you've been working is no longer supporting your well-being, then I know you're going to love today's conversation. I'm your host. I'm Linda Bucher. And if your life no longer fits, this space is for you because through this podcast and through my coaching, I guide you to shed what no longer fits and reconnect to your gifts and bring your life into alignment with who you are and what you want. And if that sparks something within you, you can find me at lindabucher.com. Okay, back to our topic today. Stop asking your job to complete you. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by Flo LaBrado of Olive and Grace Leadership Coaching. And Flo is making big, beautiful ripples in this world in her very unique way as she helps leaders and professionals to achieve their goals with confidence and integrity. So, Flo, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you. I am so happy to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit more about who you serve and what you're doing in the world?
Happy to. So, I primarily serve experienced and emerging leaders who want to grow in impact and presence and all of those things that make wonderful leaders thrive. And then also, I serve mid-career professionals who they're figuring out that whatever they're doing now isn't quite fitting anymore, and they want to discover what's next. And that's where I play.
Yes, I know. Isn't that the best playground? I love playing in
It
that
is.
playground. Oh my
It's
gosh,
so much fun.
it's
It's so much
aw-
fun.
it's awesome. So, um, when I, for about 10 years before I left the corporate world, I was feeling really unfulfilled. And it was kind of in the background for a long time. And it showed up as being disengaged, just like these statistics are showing that, only 27% of leaders feel engaged. Like, what? And I was one of those, whatever the math is, 33% or 73% that were not feeling engaged. And I was showing up later and later for work. Um, and I'm talking, okay, so this is like in the early 2000s, before
Mhm.
quiet quitting was actually a thing,
Cool.
right? Or cool, right? Like, and I didn't like that feeling because I had always been a high achiever my whole life. And then I was just no longer feeling like I wanted to achieve. It seemed not important, the work that I was doing, like maybe important to the shareholders of the company, but
Mhm.
not important to me. And I was blaming work. Like, why isn't this fulfilling? What is it not giving to me? What is the problem? So let's just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah,
Where we're looking.
I love to. And I think sometimes what I notice in conversations with clients, with people in my life, is that discomfort that something is off can show up even when from the outside, everything looks great. So maybe the person continues to show up as very committed to their job. They're on time. They seem excited. They're taking on bigger and bigger challenges. And so from the outside, all the markers are there that the person is still engaged and hyped up about work. But the question is, what's happening on the inside?
Right.
Is it that pep talk in the parking lot before getting out of the car or before signing on to Microsoft Teams or whatever for the day? Or that just discomfort or not experiencing that joy. So from the outside, everything looks great, high achiever, high performer, ready for, the bigger roles, but inside, how are you really feeling? That is often the quiet telling that we tend to drown out with all the external markers and we forget.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I do remember that time. I was a real high achiever at
Mhm.
work. And it was the fact that I spent so long trying to cover it up that eventually that there was a part of me that was self-sabotaging. And that's the
Mhm.
part that by the end I was showing up later and later for work.
Yeah.
I'd be sitting in a staff meeting with a good thing. I mean, I had a zipper in my mouth closed. I would be like, I wanted to just scream, like, this is not important in the grand scheme of life. This is not, this is so dumb. Why are we still sitting here? Like, good thing I didn't say any of that out loud. But I really, it was like, it was crazy and hard. And yet, that responsibility we feel to stay, you made your bed, now lie in it kind of thing. This is
Mhm.
where you are.
This
Just
is
make
it.
the best of it, right?
Made
Suck
my
it up,
choice.
buttercup. Like
Exactly.
all
And if we consider that less than a third at best and less than a third of people all around the world feel engaged at work, and yet there are millions of organizations that appear to be growing and thriving, there's a disconnect, right? It tells us that yes, at an organizational level, things might be working, but internally for the human being that wears whatever title they have been issued, something doesn't feel right. And what's scarier is that the numbers are heading in the wrong direction. So what do we do? What does a person do when they realize that they're not where they're supposed to be? Or maybe they were meant to be there for a time, but something is telling them quietly that that time is coming to a close.
yeah,
What's next?
right.
Yeah.
And they're afraid to figure out what's next because how is that going to be a long, drawn out journey? It's
Mhm.
going to be really
Yeah.
hard. Um, I don't have the time. I have responsibilities at home and I have to be at this job for income. Like, how am I going to do this? So that they end up settling for a real long time.
Absolutely. One individual that I work with that comes to mind who has a long history of high achievement in multiple careers over their life. And then they realized that they chose a career, their new career, and they enjoyed it for a while until one day they just could not stand it anymore. But it's almost like the fear of discovering, of figuring out what might be next, what makes sense, is so big that it's safer to stay
Yeah.
right where they are.
Yes.
And yes, there's safety, there's security and consistency and stability, but what about that calling in your belly that says, "Oh, but there's something else." Oh, and that is such a sweet spot. I love working with that. And I can even share from my own personal experience that I there was a time in my life when I was much younger that I remember like work was everything for me. It was my purpose. I thought it was my purpose. And so I thought it made sense to work harder, to work the longer hours, to say yes to everything because I treated work as the thing
Mhm.
that made me complete. But here's the problem with that. Organizations continue to change. And with digital technologies continuing to reorganize our world, with global and market pressures, organizations continue to change. So, what happens when we put so much of our identity and our the responsibility for fulfillment in our work in a specific organization or even a specific profession? Well, what happens when the cheese moves and our right? Our what we thought was a source of fulfillment moves and changes. What's left?
Right. Yes, yeah. That happened to me where I was very fulfilled and I loved what I was doing. And then things in the organization changed, and all of a sudden it was just not good being there anymore.
Yeah.
It was hard and unenjoyable. Um, and um, what's interesting that you're bringing up is we tend to tie our ego likes to be tied
Mm,
to our work and our identity. So then we say, that's my identity. I am a, you know, I got promoted to this level. So our egos are like, yeah, you're good at what you
Yes.
do. Yeah, you are.
I'm amazing.
Right.
Yes.
And then when things change and that doesn't fit you anymore, now there's a threat to your identity, which no, our egos hate that. Like, who
Mhm.
am I? That's why it's so hard to, have discussions about difficult topics with people is because they get entrenched because their identity doesn't want to be on, shaky ground. So if your identity is tied, like it is for so many people, to your position, your salary, how many people you manage, right? That's your level of importance, that's your identity. Then it could be super scary to ask yourself that question. But what would fulfill me? Like, like
Mm.
you're like, what if what
Yeah.
fulfills me is like I become a professional dog walker and nobody thinks I'm important, Like it's so
But
scary.
yet, it can be so scary, but yet there's so much wonder that can come from just taking a peek. But like I think of it as like looking at a peephole outside of a door to see what might be out there. Even just sliding the little cover to take a peek at what might be out there can take so much courage, but it is so worth it. Because then we start to ground ourselves and the things that are more stable and intrinsic,
Mhm.
getting grounded on what are my values? What are the things that I will stand on regardless of where I work? And not just related to work, but what are my values as a person that transcend whether in my role as a friend, as a wife,
Mhm.
as a community member, as an employee, as a coach, whatever the roles are, what are the values that I'm going to stand on? We can get grounded on that because if that shifts, it's because we want it to, not because the context has changed, right? And then also getting real about our purpose. And this is where we often mix things up. Sometimes we treat work, and this was me a couple decades ago, where I treated work as my purpose. But then flipping that and realizing, wait a minute, there's something else. Let me get clear about what it is that I am meant to do in this world,
Mhm.
why I'm here, what it is that I'm really passionate about, because it's not spreadsheets and it's not slides.
Yeah.
It's not slides at all, right? It's not even technology itself, but getting really clear about what my purpose is in this world and then allowing that to overflow as an expression, as how I show up in work and how I serve as a family member, as a community member, and just reversing that order instead of work being purpose, but purpose being an expression in everything that we do brings so much more clarity and groundedness to our identities.
Yes. And I would like to say too, like I remember uh, having a client who um, was feeling like I have to change jobs. She was a C-suite. She was the only female, and she felt like she was even at that level getting grunt work
Mhm.
compared to the other people on her floor, and that she was treated um, a little less than, you know. And
Mhm.
she's like, I don't know what my next career's got to be. I don't know where it is. I want to find the answers. And so we were working together. And what was very interesting is we're asking these questions. Like I call them, what's your top five non-negotiables? Like who are you outside of your roles and responsibilities, and what are your top five non-negotiables? The non-negotiables you bring to your relationships, your personal relationships, like your leisure time. Like what are your like this these are non-negotiable. Like let's find out what those are. So who are you outside of all of that? She discovered all that, and when she discovered all that, she started showing up differently, and when she showed up differently, she started being
Mm.
treated differently. And when we ended our couple of months together, she's like, it's like the Pina Colada song. I'm staying. I love my job. So a lot of times finding yourself and finding what your own personal purpose is does not mean you need to turn your life absolutely upside down, and go quit your job and go to Australia and walk the beach for 3 months. It does not mean that. People are
Mhm.
so worried about disrupting, like in a way that is they're not gonna be able to recover from, and it doesn't have to be that. It's very interesting that you are not nearly as far away from yourself as you think you are. You just haven't been
Mm.
asking the right questions.
Yeah, because it's in you, right? All of those things are within you. Those non-negotiables, those desires, those wants, they're there. They live in your mind, in your heart, and in your body. And sometimes what is needed is just a little bit of time to reflect and to ask those questions and to explore and see what that feels like, because someone could say, oh, I don't feel, I'm not happy at work, I hate this is not fulfilling, and run into a next career move and find the same
Yes.
exact problem there, because again, that's still looking to work to be the one that provides fulfillment, instead of being grounded in who we are and what our strengths are, our values, what do we enjoy? What does fulfillment look like without the context of an organization? And then taking up the space in whatever context we're in with that integrity. And I talk a lot about integrity because, we often fragment our lives into the different roles that we play. Um, that fragmentation can be exhausting. And it further buries those non-negotiables, and it gets harder to tap into them and to know what they are.
Yeah, and it doesn't
If
leave you any time to be still and ask the question.
yes, yes, yes. And then of course, let's be real, we spend a significant amount of our time at work.
Mhm.
And so if we spend, let's say at best 25% or a third of our days at work, of course, we will look to that to be our source of fulfillment, our source of clarity, the context to guide us. But again, when that cheese moves, our sense of identity, of stability, everything that is certain feels like completely different, and we might feel lost. But that's where that grounding comes in. But to have that grounding, we get to first work on clarity, getting really, really clear. And that's hard work, especially in our worlds that doesn't like to give us space to slow down and discover that.
Yeah. So we have to take the space. We have to make the
Mm.
space. That's the
Yes.
number one thing. Because, you and I are both clarity coaches. We help people with that. But if they're not willing to make it an intention in their life and make the space to be able to do it, you're just not going to get it. It
Yeah.
does take time and attention to ask yourself questions and stop asking everybody else. When I was feeling unfulfilled, the first thing I did was like, let me take an assessment to tell me, what I should be doing, right?
Hmm.
What's in the want ads? I was looking everywhere but within, because within seemed like it was going to be scary, and especially because what if I find who I am and I don't like her? Or worse, what if other people
Mm.
don't like her? Right? So it's
Mm.
very scary, but I will guarantee anyone listening, you will love who you find, and so will all the people around you. It's
Yes.
never been otherwise. It's just a thought that you're thinking, what if, right? But that's not true. And the answer is only within you. That's the only place you will ever find it. And procrastinating, asking your best friends, complaining, none of that is going to find fulfillment. It comes from within. And purpose is not nearly as far away as you think. And purpose is not like this, be all end all one thing. You're living it in day to day in your job, and it's becoming clearer as you live it, but you have to start somewhere.
Mm. Yeah. And I think of, we think of purpose as this very um uh fuzzy, ethereal, sort
Yeah.
of like intangible thing, but it's a very real, practical thing.
Mhm.
It's such a part of who we are, like you said. And and we it's I usually get one or two answers if I ask someone just generally about, hey, what are you excited about, what are you inspired by? And usually I get an answer, one or two answers, either something specific about their work. I'm excited about creating these marketing campaigns, or I'm inspired about something performance or productivity related. And so that's one, right? And then the other thing that I sometimes get is, I'm just trying to survive. I'm just trying to make
Mm.
it.
Yeah.
And that shows two sort of different situations. One where the person might feel like my purpose is my job, it is to produce, it is what other people see, and that's my value.
Right.
And then the other person who might feel like things are just too hard. I don't have time for this. Or maybe I'm just here to survive. I'm not worth investing in myself to discover that. And I love both of those problems
I
because
know.
it is so much fun to help people realize that every single person deserves to have the clarity of their non-negotiables, to have clarity on what they're meant to do in this world, even if 5 years from now it's something else. But getting to discover that right now is sort of like it's like if if you go to the store and try on a pair of jeans, my least favorite type of thing to shop for, right? And so you try on a pair of jeans that they look really nice, but you put them on, it's a lot of work, or they fit funny, or they're uncomfortable, or they itch, and they just don't feel right. That's what it's like to me to walk through trying to wear either someone else's purpose or the purpose of a company as your own, or not even caring about what pair of jeans you put on when there might be a pair out there that is just right for you.
Yeah.
And then how nice it is to put on that pair of jeans you've had for like 8 years that fits just right, and you can run errands or garden or do whatever. That kind of comfort and feeling safe and comfortable in your skin, but also excited and courageous. That's what discovering purpose can do.
Yes, absolutely. And it's to me, what's very interesting about it also is once you are on that pathway to be discovering it, you're going to notice it was always present in your life looking back, like noticing, like, because I also tie in gifts, right? I help people
Mhm.
discover their unique gifts that they're supposed to give out to the world. And so purpose and gifts like really go hand in hand because you've been given the gifts so that you can live your purpose. Like that's
Yes.
hello, that's why they're there, right? And then you look back and you go, oh my gosh, I've always had that. Like I personally have a deep like X-ray vision into people. It's natural and normal for me. Like I see people when that can't even see themselves sometimes. Like I just have this deep insight and it's just natural all my life. And I look back when I was making spreadsheets, when I was an IT project manager, what were people connecting with me about? A lot of times it was their personal stuff. It was really interesting. I was like, I was a coach before I was a coach. And I was because I had such natural insight and I could help people get clarity on things all the time. You look back and you're like, I've always done this. So whatever the purpose is that any listener discovers, you're going to recognize this is not new. You've been doing it all along. You just were a little oblivious to it. And it's never been far. It's not this hard journey because it's never been far. It's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there.
It's
And you
right there.
and you are worthy of knowing it. And if you won't
Yes.
do it for you, do it for those around you because they deserve the best version of you. And you can't be the best version of you when you're contorting yourself into a pretzel trying to find meaning in something that's meaningful to somebody else because you think you should. So it's really about when you are still and you give yourself the space and you ask yourself the questions or have someone like Flo or me ask you the right questions and you discover yourself. That is the pathway. You discover yourself, you discover your purpose, you discover your gifts, not necessarily linear. It kind of goes in a circle. Then you discover how to align your life with that, how to align your work. I've had bosses who, once I really was like, I'm really good at this and I really like this. They're like, all right, we'll take the job that way. Like that, you're going to thrive if we do it that way. So you're right. I'll give it to someone else to do those other things you hate doing. People will be flexible around that when they see how much you will shine when you are showing up in alignment with who you are.
Yeah, and that alignment allows us to create meaning because what is it that really creates engagement and allows us to thrive at work, where we serve, and our families and our friendships, whatever responsibilities or roles we hold, what allows us to thrive is to create meaning.
Mhm.
And that's what shifts things from work, like I do this because I'm paid to do it, to labor, which is more meaningful work. And it could be that, sometimes, I have to do a spreadsheet, something that I don't enjoy. I don't love admin work, but it's part of what I do, is part of running a coaching business, it's
Sure,
part of
right.
being a leader, right? But when I see the meaning in what I'm doing and that this is supporting the aspects of my work that I enjoy the most. That changes the meaning of the things that I don't enjoy to being more like a temporary trade-off for something greater.
Yeah.
And getting that clarity. And the way that we make sense of things is through dialogue, right? So talking with someone, whether it's yourself or a coach or someone that you trust to help you explore that dialogue can help surface what your that meaning is, what that purpose is, to then be able to infuse everything that you do with the meaning that makes it sparkly, that makes it magical for you, or worst case, that makes it tolerable if it's those things that we don't enjoy doing. Because
Yeah.
there's meaning, there's richness, there's
Yeah.
depth. And that's what takes us from looking at work as our organization as being responsible for our fulfillment, for our purpose, of being the answer, the meaning to everything, to generating that purpose and meaning from the inside out that
Mhm.
allows us to show up differently, to stand up taller, to pause even when it's countercultural, to make choices instead of allowing things to happen
Mhm.
to us. It
Yes.
is such a beautiful shift that not it's not just the 20 something year old who gets to make it in their senior year in college, but at any stage in life, we get to constantly reevaluate and reconnect and relive our purpose and meaning.
Yes. It's a beautiful path to be walking. We're all still walking.
Mm,
Yeah, you're walking it.
yes.
I'm working,
Mhm.
walking it. Um, and so basically it comes down to, because I want to kind of simplify this for our audience and give them like a small turtle step,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
So it comes down to identifying the why that matters to you.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. It's that why. And it if you strip away where you work, what you do, if you strip away every single role or title, and it's just you in your skin, in your heart, in your mind, in your spirit, what is important to you?
Mhm. Yeah.
And just be with that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, that's kind of a nice little small parting thing that we can give to our listeners today is something really small because um, people listen to podcasts and they go, "Oh, that was great," and then they listen to the next podcast immediately. So we're like, "Okay, can we have you hit pause at the end of this and just do something really, really small?" And it's really about just, I would say, 5 minutes. Can you find 5 minutes? Even if you just have to park your car before you go into the next thing, right? Find 5 minutes to ask yourself just a few questions. So, Flo, what question would you have them ask?
Oh, what are you excited about?
Mm. Yes, I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
What and a flip one that can go with that is what is it that you do that you just don't enjoy anymore?
Hmm.
But more importantly, what are you excited about? Whether you actually get to do it or not, what is it that when you think about it, you feel warm and gooey and tingly all over? What is that?
Okay,
That.
excellent. Okay, so that's your first question. And the second question, and there's only going to be two, is
Mm.
why?
Why?
Why? Because that's where all the information lies,
Yes.
right? All the information, like why? Huh. Now you're going to really open some stuff. And all it takes is awareness. Any journey begins with awareness. Once you
Mm.
have awareness, you'll probably find the intention to be like, well, now that I know this can be, and I don't have to turn my life upside down, and I can start with these two simple little questions, you know, you will already your trajectory of your life will change because you listen to this conversation today and in a positive way. So, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been such a wonderful, wonderful conversation. I just want to say thank you so much, Flo. You've been wonderful. And I know you like have something that you can share with our audience, and then I'll, tell them how to get it and
Yes.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Yes. And well, first, thank you. Every conversation with you was just so much fun and joy and beautiful. And I take away something. So thank you for that. Yes. So if anyone who's listening and wants to explore this a little deeper, I do have a resource that I've made for you, and it's called my Clarity Compass. And it is a list of sort of reflections and exercises to begin to discover your why. That you can spend a few minutes or, spread it out over a few weeks if you'd like, whatever works for you. And to get a hold of that, I will be happy to share it with you. Just shoot me an email at flo@oliveandgraceleadership.com and I will get it right to you.
Thank you. That's going to be awesome for so many people. And Flo, I will put that in the show notes.
Thank you.
So anyone can just kind of scroll down and grab that. They don't have to like
Yeah.
try to remember how that's spelled or anything. So
Yes.
Flo LaBrado, what a beautiful time we've had today. Thank you so much. That is our show. And I am Linda Bucher, guiding people to know their worth, to reconnect to their gifts and create lives that are fully aligned and deeply impactful. So if you're sensing it's time to bring your life into deeper alignment, you can explore what that looks like at lindabucher.com. You will find direction, you'll find clarity right on my website. So if today's episode sparked something for you, I would love if you would share it with someone who might need it. And then please subscribe so that you don't miss what's next. And join me next week for an expansive, uplifting conversation with another guest that will be designed to support your growth. So until next time, make sure that you've made this conversation worth your while by fueling the spark that it ignited.